Welcome to the LA Real Estate Podcast on buying and selling real estate in Los Angeles. This is the second episode in our Seller series. Joining me on the show today again is Deirdre Salomone from the L34 Group. Today we'll be going through the timeline before listing a house. Deirdre and I will be doing a neighborhood spotlight on Highland Park, which we both love. And we'll also go through 5 common mistakes sellers make when selling. Deirdre, you're back.
I'm back.
I'm so happy to see you again.
I'm so happy to see you too.
We both have a big weekend coming up. So I'm going to say mine first because yours is way more exciting. So I'm going to San Francisco with my family. I'm so excited.
That's going to be a blast. San Francisco is the city of my heart. Lived there many years.
I love it. We just stay at the hotel and we walk everywhere. We don't drive. We go to a ball game. It's really fun.
It's so fun with the kids, for sure.
So now tell us where you're going.
Well, after a great season, we decided sort of spontaneously to look at our miles and realized we had enough miles on our card to take a trip to our beloved Italy.
And God, so I've never been to Italy.
You've got to go.
I know.
It's pretty heavenly. We're going to go very south. We're going to, go south of Naples. We're going to stay a little in Naples and then go into, we're going to drive the Amalfi Coast because Terry has to do that. And go to Positano and then into Matera and go stay in a cave dwelling and then just head straight down to the bottom of the boot, the very bottom to where we could see Sicily. And we may go into Sicily, but we're going to kind of plant ourselves and go to beaches and ruins and different towns around there and beaches. Did I say beaches?
So incredible. Oh, beaches. That sounds amazing.
On the Tyrrhenian Sea, which is heaven to me.
And how long are you going for?
Almost 3 weeks.
That's a good amount of time. I feel like when you travel internationally, it's got to be more than a couple weeks.
I agree 100%.
Because it takes a few days even just to kind of decompress, get on the time zone.
It takes me about 4 days to decompress, where I'm not checking my phone, feeling like I need to respond, and where I can actually get a good night's sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
very exciting.
I can't wait to hear about it when you get back. Let's talk a little about the timeline of listing a house, because it's not just, hey, I'm ready to sell my house. We sell today. Let's put it on the market and let's go. So the first thing, I guess, before deciding to sell, the first thing you should do is meet with an experienced realtor.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what do you normally talk about the first time you go to someone's house and they say to you, Deirdre, I'm thinking about selling? What do you discuss at that meeting?
Well, first of all, we allow them to show us around their home, and we listen to them to see what really stands out for them, in their home. And then we listen to where, we ask them and get to where they're going next, what sense of urgency they have, what timeline works for them.
So why are they selling?
Why are they selling? Where are they going? For us, often our sellers are leaving Highland Park and moving out of the country or across the state, moving out of the state. And it's really interesting. So as there are many, many people coming into our area, there's also sort of a lot of people leaving the area, and we get a lot of those listings.
I've been meeting with a lot of people lately whose kids are aged out of, Mount Washington Elementary or a school district, and they're ready to sort of move to a different area because that's why they moved there, was for the elementary school. And now their kids are older and and a lot of people, like you said, are moving out of state.
Yeah.
Because California is expensive.
Exactly.
So if you're not here for a specific purpose or reason, sometimes people, move to some place where cost of living is so much cheaper.
That's a lot of our sellers.
So you get a tour with people. And so how long would you say is the first time you meet with someone to when they actually list their house on the market?
That's a great question. So we will meet with them and we'll see what work, needs to get done on it and what they're able to do. It usually takes about a month and a half is the average. We'll have backed up inventory for a month to a month and a half, sometimes 2 months out, that we know we're working on getting the listing ready for the market.
So basically you're meeting with people a few months before they ever actually list. And this is an important thing if you're a seller, is to meet with a realtor well before you plan on selling. And one of the things that a good realtor does is when you meet, we'll make recommendations on sometimes very small things and inexpensive things you can do that is going to bring the most value and the highest price to your house. So, for example, we discussed in the last podcast how important painting is. But there's all sorts of things. And I've gone on listing appointments where someone will say to me, okay, well, these are the things I was considering doing. And I'll say to them, these two things I don't recommend you do because I don't think you're going to get the value back when you sell. But this thing you for sure should do. So, for example, a broken garage door where it's not opening and closing. To me, it would be important to just go ahead and fix that before you sell, as opposed to someone who maybe wants to completely repaint the outside of their house with a house that maybe doesn't even need it. It looks fine. So it depends on the situation.
Exactly. And the time where you're meeting your listing agent is not the time to consider a remodel of the kitchen, because that's all relative.
Right.
I think a good painting, decluttering, staging, and it's considered in the price. A kitchen remodel will take months to do, and the taste is relative. A buyer moving in may not have the same taste that you have. So I think it's not the time to do a full kitchen remodel or bathroom remodel. There
is one thing that I usually recommend to sellers because it actually is very fast, and that's getting rid of carpet and either putting in hardwood or even a good laminate over carpet. For me, makes such a huge difference as far as selling in the photos. I mean, I personally hate carpet.
I hate carpet as well. I mean, a higher end carpet in a bedroom or whatnot can work, and it's quite nice. If you're stepping out of bed, if you need to have carpet there, preferably our number one choice is always a nice hardwood floor. I
love hardwood.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah.
And it's surprisingly not as expensive. What I learned, which is surprising to me, is the most expensive part is labor on stairs. So if you have a lot of stairs, they usually charge $75 to $100 for a stair.
Yeah.
So that's the expensive, it's expensive to do that. But if you have one level house, it's pretty affordable to put in as far as the return, especially.
Yeah, return on your investment, absolutely.
And I think nice floors look so beautiful in pictures.
It's a big deal. It's a big difference, yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So the first meeting, you discuss some of the small things, make recommendations. And the next phase, basically, once you have a game plan and a timeline, moving out all of your personal items and a lot of your furniture. So this is like you're getting ready. You've done the little things we've discussed, and you're getting ready to sell.
Yeah. And so we're in the process exactly of this right now with a listing up in the hills in Highland Park. We had them, do the painting of this mid-century, and they're completely decluttered. We're actually having them move out most of their furniture, and our stagers coming in and working with some of their items and the outdoors, and getting the staging prepared for photos on Thursday.
So, and then once all that's done, and before the staging is a really good cleaning.
Clean, yes.
Cleaning is so important.
Yeah.
Also, you can see things in the photos, and there's a little bit we can edit out, but if your floors are super dirty, if your windows are dirty, it definitely makes it harder for the photographer. So and even just for the stager, my stager is very, he's a perfectionist. He likes everything to be perfect, and it drives him insane if he goes to move his stuff in and the house isn't clean.
Our stager won't stage until it's been cleaned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It absolutely should. And if you want to know the timeline, obviously, check in with your realtor. Disclosures. This is something I really like to do ahead of time as well, and I know you do.
Yeah. We like to present to the buyers a disclosure package, seller disclosure package, and a receipt for report. So we present the seller disclosures early on, right after the listing, that they can fill out online, and we have it as part of our disclosure package that we pass on to the buyer's realtor. And
the seller disclosures, there's a bunch of forms, but there's two that are important, the really important, the TDS and the SPQ. You don't have to remember the initials. Transfer disclosure statement, seller property questionnaire. These are forms that have a ton of questions that'll say, have you done any work to the house? Is there anything that's unpermitted? Have there been pets on the property? All kinds of questions that you fill out. And once it's filled out, you basically have to disclose anything you know that's a defect in the house and answer all these questions. And once this is filled out, you sign it and it gets sent to the buyers. Now, Deirdre and I both like to fill these out before even listing and send to the buyers. People do it different ways. So it depends on how quickly we can get this done. I like to just have it available for anyone writing an offer. They can read all of these disclosures. Some agents I know only send them during the counter round phase. So it really depends on the agent. But I feel like it's important to do these ahead of time.
100%. And what we always tell our sellers is disclose, disclose, disclose. There's a little few lines where you can fill out the no box on these forms. We just say take an extra sheet of paper and just go for it. Disclose everything. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, disclose it.
If you don't know if you should disclose something, you should disclose it. Yeah. So, we like to be proactive and do these ahead of time. And you get a lot of paperwork in escrow. So the more you can do ahead of time, the better. We talked about staging. So that's the next phase. And then we hire, as realtors, we get our photographers to come in. Very, very important detail. Make sure your realtor has an amazing photographer. It can also make or break the listing because the first image, on the MLS or for your buyers and the rest of the agents that are showing your property is this, the wow shot. The photography is so important. And we do a lot of drone photography. Yeah. The images are just, again, people look at them on their phone. They're only an inch high. Yeah. So if it's not a great photo, they're going to swipe left.
Exactly.
Right? They're just
it really has to stand out.
Swipe through it. Okay, so this is when the graphic design starts. So your realtor should have a marketing plan.
And that takes about a week to 10 days for us, at least. Once we have the photos, the copy, we put the marketing in place. We start that machine. And so, if there's going to be an event for the, first open house, meaning food and whatnot, all the brochures, the postcards, all of that gets done in that 10-day period for us.
Right. So when you take the photography to when you're actually officially on the market, it's just under 2 weeks, I'd say, would be the average for a good realtor. So the realtor does need that time because we need to get the printed material printed. And if we're mailing it, we need to allow enough days for it to actually get mailed to all your neighbors, the postcards. So it's important to allow a little bit of time. So you don't want to call your realtor 2 days and say, okay, we're ready. We want to be on the market next week and not give us time to do our marketing to get you the most interest.
Exactly. And as I said, in the last podcast, if you're thinking in the next year you're going to sell and you're thinking of a remodel, ask your realtor. Just have them come in and give you the stamp of approval.
Good tip. Pre-inspections. Sometimes we do these, sometimes we don't. So pre-inspections are basically hiring some inspectors to come inspect your home just like a buyer would, and then having these inspections available. So before someone even places an offer on your house, they know if there are any things wrong with the house. And the good thing about this is it also allows the seller time to repair anything that's in that inspection. So for example, if your inspector, your pre-inspections, he says, hey, there's a leak under the sink. You can say, oh, okay. Oh, bummer. So I'm going to fix that. So you can actually repair it and fix it. You still have to disclose it, though.
Mm-hmm. But that would be in the seller property questionnaire that there was a leak. I fixed it. And pre-inspections, not all agents do them. Some do, some don't. Some send them with the SPQ and the TDS in the counter round. Some of us will make them available prior to the buyers writing an offer for a sense of transparency. We're playing around with, doing it or not doing it right now because along with the buyer fatigue, we're finding it might be working against the sellers. If there's two similar homes on the market, we have buyer inspections. They may be offering on the other house that they just don't know.
They don't know if there's anything wrong.
The downside to that, though, is without the pre-listing inspections, you have a higher fallout rate falling out of escrow. When we get people in escrow, the buyers in, they stay. We don't have, sellers falling out of escrow because they know what they're buying.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So And I think I do really like pre-inspections when I'm repping buyers because it's for the same reason. I can say to them, okay, so I have the inspections. The house is probably going to need a new roof in 3 to 5 years. And we also found out the air conditioning needs to be replaced. Those are 2 big ticket items. How do you feel about that? Do you have the resources to move forward? And let's factor that into the original offer price. So you figure that out before you open escrow. And then when you're in escrow and you do your own inspections, which we'd still recommend you also do your own inspections, you're not surprised. This isn't news. You already know about this and you've already factored it into your price. And so there's not a whole second round of negotiations when you're halfway through escrow.
Absolutely.
And it really helps, I think, both sides.
Absolutely. I mean, again, we don't have people falling out of escrow. If you're a seller and you're going to do the general inspection and the sewer scope, and there's any issues that come up in the general inspection, I advocate for getting the secondary inspections with an estimate of what that new roof will be or what that, the
plumbing
patch-up
repair,
sewer line will be or whatnot. So the buyers coming in know, well, we need to budget X amount of dollars, and you're not having to negotiate that second round of
and
inspections.
We talk about this a lot. You and I both, you were my mentor. So, this mentality where a negotiation, a transaction does not have to have a winner and a loser. We like to end our transactions where both parties are happy. Both parties feel like they got a great buy, great sell. They're happy. They like the people buying, and everybody is happy at the end of the transactions. Now, that doesn't always work, but there are some, agents or people that like the idea of a winner and a loser. And that's not how we personally do our business. It's a relationship business. And I love the idea of both parties being super happy at the end.
100%. That's, that's our MO. That's how we like to operate. We don't want someone to come out feeling like they are victorious, and the other person like they've just been beat up.
Yeah.
We've all been in those deals before, and no one actually wins.
Nobody wins. Nobody wins. Yeah. So we do like to have win-win. And then, so we schedule the open houses. We often have an offer review date. This is something that is, I think, unique about our market is we do have a lot of people, and I've talked about this in previous podcasts, that we have an offer review date. So what we do is we put the house on the market. We usually give 2 weekends of open houses and a broker's open before we accept review offers. Now, this is up to our clients to tell us how they want to do it. We can advise. Sometimes if someone comes with a crazy gangbusters offer, it can get accepted early before the offer review date. But the mentality behind this is that it allows market exposure. People can come see the house, and you don't get a full price offer the first day and not know if maybe you could have gotten more or getting backup buyers.
Yeah. So this technique is incredible. It's incredible during a seller's market where you can do this, where you can bookend open houses and do brokers open and then have an offer due date, let's say the next Tuesday, in a changing market. Or sometimes actually this year we've experienced when there was a start-stop, we need to do an extra round of open houses. I feel like that's due to a lot of buyer fatigue. Yeah, they're watching to see if you're going to get 15 offers on a place. Yeah,
and some people will say to me, I don't even want to go in a bidding war. So if you think it's going to get multiple offers, I don't even want to write on it. Yeah. So, and then we do, often there's a counter round, and that's when you accept your offer and you open escrow. Yay. So that's the timeline before listing. So again, before you want to sell, you want to touch base with a realtor at least a couple months before you're planning on selling.
Absolutely.
So that you're not super rushed. So if you think, I want to get the house ready before I call a realtor, no, call the realtor first and we'll help you get your house ready.
100%.
I got a seller's tip. It's much easier to sell your house when you've already moved out. It's a bit of a tricky thing because sometimes people want to sell first before they buy a house, rent a house. It does make it easier to show your house when your house is vacant. So if you can just get an Airbnb during the week, 2 weeks that you are actually, your realtor is doing showings and open houses, it does make it easier for people to see it, which means more interest, which possibly means a higher offer. So, Deirdre, because you are a Highland Park expert, you work in Highland Park, you live in Highland Park. I personally love Highland Park. I thought that we'd discuss Highland Park today.
Fantastic.
So tell me, for anyone that isn't familiar, I think most people in LA now have heard of Highland Park. What are kind of the general boundaries of Highland Park?
It's bound by Eagle Rock, Pasadena, Cypress Park, Glassell Park. So those surround Highland Park.
And all together, all of those areas, that's basically what we consider Northeast LA.
Yeah.
Neela. So obviously, now Highland Park has changed a lot in the last 10 years. How long have you lived in Highland Park for?
I've lived there for almost 20 years. My first house that I bought in California was in Highland Park. So, yeah, we've lived there for about 20 years when Valentine was actually not quite 20 years. I'm sorry. Scratch that. 18 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
And Valentine's your daughter, your gorgeous daughter.
Valentine is my beautiful, beautiful girl. And, yeah. So we've seen a lot of changes.
A lot of changes. So the area has really, really changed. And I've been in Mount Washington on the border of Glassell Park, and we've seen big changes in our areas too. We have a lot, kind of an insurgence of art and music, which is exciting. And lots of new businesses have moved in.
And the schools have changed. I mean, that's a big thing. When we first moved to Highland Park, her elementary school would have been Aldama Elementary. And we ended up going to Mount Washington, even though we could walk to Aldama. And, the parents have moved in, taken over Aldama. It's a dual language school. There's a garden. I mean, it's a very, very proactive parent association there.
I know a lot of people that have their kids at Aldama, and it's a very prestigious school now. I mean, people are really excited to get in.
People will move within Highland Park as long as they can stay at Aldama.
Right.
They love it so much.
Right. And then, so what are some of your sort of old school favorites in Highland Park?
Oh, gosh. As far as restaurants?
Restaurants and businesses. Yeah.
Some of my old school favorites are no longer there. El Arco Iris, Mr. T's Bowling Alley.
Oh, Mr. T's.
Where we go see bands.
I played there.
Barfly guys were always there. You can always count on them. It's now the Highland Park Bowl. And it's beautiful. Our friend completely,
The restoration there is
it's amazing.
Just amazing.
Yeah, they really honored the past with it. And so that's going on a lot on Figueroa, where they've taken down the facades of the buildings that, were placed there in the 90s and exposing beautiful brick buildings, old sort of, deco works. I mean, it's really beautiful. There's
some really amazing architecture on Figueroa. I mean, I love exposed ceilings. And when you walk into some of the businesses that have the high ceilings, I know Hippo is a newer restaurant that I love. And, they've been really amazing about supporting my kids' school. I mean, they donated all of the batter for the pancake breakfast at my kids' school. And I think, I can't remember how many pancake breakfasts we saw. It was a lot. They donated all the batter for it, which was amazing. Yeah. And what are some of the other areas, or what are some of your favorite restaurants there right now?
Let's see. I love Joy. Joy is on York. It's wonderful. It's by the owners from Pine and Crane in Silver Lake.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful. What else do I love there? Well, we went to Birdie. Birdie's been around for a little bit, and their food is delicious.
It was really good. Deirdre and I went out for a really beautiful birthday dinner. That was really nice. I love Kitchen Mouse.
We go to Kitchen Mouse about 3 times a week. That's exactly. And I get the one thing over and over again, which is their chilaquiles. They're
that's
amazing.
What my husband gets. That's what Clark gets all the time.
Good.
I am obsessed. They have a gluten-free onion bagel. It doesn't sound good, but it is really amazing with eggs and avocado. And their coffee's really strong. So that's important.
Yeah.
And Hippo has really good old fashions too. I'm just going to throw that out there. It may be early in the morning, but it doesn't stop me from thinking about their old fashions. They're so good.
I have a favorite old school thing in Highland Park, which is the Las Estrellas taco shop on Avenue 60, and I think it's Avenue 60 or 61. and Figueroa, they make amazing burrito. The Al Pastor's so good.
Oh,
yeah,
yum.
it's good. Yeah, I mean, like when you're coming back from something and you just are craving the burrito, it's Las Estrellas.
You know what I really love about Highland Park is it's walkable.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's not, where I am in the hills, a little bit. I mean, you can walk. It's just hard getting back. You can walk downhill, but you got to go back up the hill.
Yeah.
There's not, I love the feeling of Highland Park that you can kind of wander. It's flatter, well, except in the hills of Garvanza, but I really like that you can walk to businesses.
Yeah, and in
restaurants
Garvanza, there's some really neat, you know, Amara Cafe.
Right. Amara Cafe
Wonderful.
is amazing.
They're amazing. And, you know, it seems now that York is stretching out more to like Avenue, 53, 54, 50, it's moving up with more restaurants and whatnot.
There's an amazing Little League field in Garvanza.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's incredible. And it's all volunteers that run it. So if you do live in the area and you have kids and you want to get them involved in baseball, and they have an amazing girls softball league, they do really, really well. I personally know the coach, Ceci, and she's incredible with the girls. So yeah, if you're a baseball fan, or even just going to watch the games on the weekend.
And there's a skateboard park there as well.
That's right by the skateboard park.
It is. Garvanza is a little inlet of Highland Park. It's a historic neighborhood there. There's a historic preservation overlay zone.
Oh, yes.
Which, I don't think we have time enough to get into what that actually means. But basically it means the history of the home and the era is honored, with the buyers, with the people living there, including like the colors and the fences and whatnot.
Right. So it's just keeping with the original character of the home, which is amazing.
It's a great area, yeah.
There's so many gorgeous houses in Highland Park.
Yeah.
Old, beautiful, well-built.
Yeah.
And I love that the houses people are understanding now the value of restoring versus remodeling.
Yes, thank you.
And we see that. I mean, when you go to a gorgeous house, like an old Craftsman or a bungalow, and you open up the door and it's a Home Depot flip, it's so frustrating for us.
Those are sitting.
That's another thing. That's actually a very good point, is some of these gorgeous old houses, again, why when you do a remodel, you should talk to a realtor first, because people see value in original details and character.
Restore. Yeah, restore, don't remodel.
Don't remodel. Some of the beautiful windows.
Absolutely. So some of the remodeled places that are sitting, our buyers' agents are getting, smoking deals on them. And then the new owners are coming in and bringing back, the original detailing.
So if you haven't checked out Highland Park, check it out. It's a really amazing pocket of LA, and everybody should know about it and everybody should explore it. Here's a seller's tip. Staging is incredibly important. Trust your realtor when they advise you to stage your house. They are trying to get you the most amount of money, and staging could potentially get you $50,000 more than it would if you didn't stage your house. So listen and trust your realtor.
Stage to the neighborhood.
Good tip. Here's 5 common mistakes that sellers make when listing their home. We're going to tell you what you could potentially do wrong. Okay, number 1, this is huge, right, Deirdre?
Yeah.
Overpricing. So people check out Zillow, they check out Redfin. No. Do not use Redfin and Zillow to price your house. Trust your realtor. And we are trending to price a little bit under market. Every realtor has a different strategy, or I'd say there's probably a few common strategies. But overpricing your house will not get you more money for your house.
Overpricing your home will guarantee that your home sits for a while the buyers are looking, and it sits and it sits. And then what you'll have to do is lower the price, and you'll get less than where you wanted to go in the first place if it's considered a stale listing.
And having what you want for the house is not a realistic way to price your house. When we advise pricing, we pull comparable properties. We've often seen the interior of those properties that we're comping to. So we have a better idea of what the actual real value is. And again, just because you want a certain price, it doesn't mean your house is actually worth that price.
And to that, I would say when you're looking at realtors, hire a local area expert.
Yes.
If you're working in Glassell Park, Mount Washington, hire an agent there that's really their focus because they know the inventory inside and out. If you're going to sell in Highland Park, hire us. No, hire
L34
a local
Group.
expert. We're seeing, a lot of, people coming in from Simi Valley, the West Side, all over the place, and they don't really know the inventory as intimately as we do. They haven't seen them on Caravan and whatnot. They don't know what the trend is, the pockets of the neighborhood.
Right.
It's really important to hire a local area expert.
That's a really good point because LA is so block to block that just because a house is in Glassell Park, it doesn't mean one part of Glassell Park is worth the same as another part of Glassell Park. There's a lot of intricacy. School districts are really important in our areas. So if you do hire a local expert like the L34 Group, the Skelton Group, we know the inventory, we know the houses, so we can give you the best advice on what to list your house at.
Absolutely.
And also we can answer questions. When we have people and are doing the showings and they say, oh, you know what, I really like this area, but there's nowhere to go grab coffee. And I can say, oh, well, actually, no, Lemon Poppy is walking distance from here, and that's a great coffee spot. You could go there. So it's important to have a local. Good tip, Deirdre. Good tip. Okay, number 2, this is a big mistake, restricting showings and making it difficult for people to see the house. I feel like in LA, we have a lot of people that they don't work traditional 9-to-5 jobs. So if I get calls, like, for example, yesterday, I got a call from someone that's like, hey, can we see this place, this evening? And I actually called the realtor and they're like, oh, no, we can't. We aren't able to show it until Tuesday now. So my client works on Tuesday. So they're probably not going to see this house. And I think it's a big mistake to restrict showings. Try and make it as easy as possible to show the house. And even if it means moving to an Airbnb for 2 weeks.
Yeah, 100%. If you need to live in the property while you're selling it, which many people do, Airbnb for a week or two so the agents can kind of move in their marketing, have it open for showings and whatnot. Yeah.
And I do think there's something to be said about just making it easy for other agents to show, because if someone wants to see 10 houses and they have to make an appointment for every single house, it actually becomes tricky with traffic, with a timeline. So it's easier for people to show it if it's easy to access and they don't have to make an appointment. So I try and make it as easy as possible for people to see.
I have a little different thought on that.
Okay,
actually.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, we put it on a lockbox for our team only. We always like to accompany anyone for the showings.
Absolutely.
To protect the seller.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't like ever to not be at showings. I like to be there. But I still
feedback.
And this is, again, why it's important to hire an area expert that's there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If someone is living in Simi Valley and somebody wants to see the house, they're probably not going to have time to drive all the way there. So I do try and make it as easy as possible, but I do try. I always put in the comments to just text me or call me first, and then I rush over to the appointment because I like to be there. All right. So we've already discussed this, but smelly houses are not selly houses. I just made that up off the fly.
Very good.
So de-smell your house. Okay. Deirdre, number 4.
Not doing upgrades in a current style. For example, don't install granite countertops.
Yeah.
And painting everything beige. No beige. No peach. No peach, no
colors,
beige.
And they photograph horribly.
Well, they're horrible colors.
They are. Beige and peach, they photograph really poorly, and it makes it really hard to sell a house that's beige and peach with granite countertops. Okay, and having too much stuff. We've talked about this, but we can't say it enough. You have to get 90% of your stuff out of the house before you sell.
Yeah. And this is also where, another pitch for a stager, even if you have really cool furnishings and, just really unique things, a stager can come in, they're unemotional about it, and they can sit there with you for a day or whatever and, tell you to, help you really declutter and help you rearrange the furniture, help you rearrange the paintings, and they have no emotion attached to it. And if they need to add a carpet or a piece of artwork, then, they're able to do that as well. So
it's funny. I have my stager told me a story the other day that said he went and he helped somebody completely stage their house for selling, and they liked it so much they decided not to sell.
That's funny.
Because they're like, wow, this looks so amazing.
So
you know
great.
what? We love it so much now. We're going to stay. So those are the big points. Just don't overprice. Make it easy to show your house. Get rid of the smells. Smelly houses are not selly houses. Obviously, if you're going to do upgrades, make sure you don't do outdated, bowl sink remodels.
Ask your realtor
and declutter your house. Thank you so much for listening to the LA Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Sara Skelton. With me today is Deirdre Salomone from the L34 Group. You'll have their information in the podcast notes as well.
Thank you.
If you want to check them out, the Highland Park experts.
Thank you.
And wonderful people.
This has been really, really fun.
Yay! I'm so glad we got to spend the morning together. This is amazing. Also, don't forget to check us out on social media. Everything is in the podcast notes. You can check out our website and our Instagram and Facebook and all the fun stuff. We're actually going to have a really cool Halloween pumpkin decorating contest as well. So it's going to be fun. You can win an iPad.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I want to see all the creatives.
Fun.
Yeah, it'll be good. All right. Thank you, Deirdre.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Boom.